we've seen a lot of delusional moments from Kody. And I've made a lot of criticisms of Suki, but if there was one moment that was the top moment of Kody's delusion, and Suki really pulling it out at the right time, was when Kody started talking. First, they did this whole thing about how Christine has to talk down about him because he's a good man. She left a good man, blah, 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 blah. But when he goes, maybe one day, he's really pushing this narrative hard that if Christine really loved David, she would stop talking about Kody and Robin. They're on a TV show. This is part of their job. If you don't want people to talk about you, then you shouldn't make your money on this TV show. And I bet you there's a solution to this. If him and Robin left the show, I bet you they would stop talking about him, but he's trying to set it up. He just never, this is consistent throughout his relationship. He doesn't want to talk about the past. He doesn't want to talk about accountability. He doesn't want to change. He just wants everyone to just go forward and do what he wants. And so now he's setting it up as if Christine really loved David, she wouldn't be talking about it. And so he's like, she does love David. But then he says this whole thing about how, so he's obsessed with Christine and David in a way that is like getting more and more and more bizarre, because now Janelle's left him and he seems to not even really remember that. He only mentions her in this last interview in conjunction with Christine. And it's like, you lost 2 wives and you only care about one. But anyway, but he has this whole fantasy that him and Christine and David and Robin will all be friends one day, and that David will pull him aside and be like, man, Christine's just nuts. This is nuts, I think was his exact example. And he's like, oh, and then I'll be the good husband who says, hey, man, you can't talk that way about your wife. And I'm like, this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing to hear this imaginary hypothesis that he has been poring over in the middle of the night. Like, it's really like when you're in high school and you're listening to a friend talk about your breakup and their imagination of how, well, then maybe I'll get sick and I'll be in a hospital and they'll come back and they'll be like, you're so wrong, or like, in the Christmas Story, where he has this dream about he'll go back to his family and he'll be blind because his mom put his soap in his mouth and everyone will wail about how wrong they were. That's the level of delusion he is here. And Suki does break in and is like, just so you know, that's not going to happen. David's not going to pull her aside. And I really like David. I knew I would get a much better feel off of him once I got to hear like his voice and stuff and see the way they look at each other. So I've only seen him in pictures until now, and I get him, and I really hope it's right for them. I was thrilled to hear Mary say that she's interested in dating and remarrying. I would love to see that. I love hearing Janelle talk about the fact that maybe one day she would have that too, but not quite yet. Like, those are things I'm genuinely interested in. There's nothing about Kody and Robin that I'm interested in. But yeah, it was unbelievable that he has this whole narrative that one day David will pull him aside and say how right he is. It's just beyond the pale to think about.